Hello, my name's Mel and this is my channel Knit Stitch Grow, and today's episode is all about what I've been knitting in January, February and March of this year. I know I said in my last video that I was going to try and do a monthly episodes, but that clearly hasn't happened. But anyway, I have a couple of finished objects to talk to you about now, so I thought I'll hop on and do an episode. So my first make is what I'm wearing, and this is the Coorie in Poncho by Palko. And I finished this at the end of January, and it's made out of mainly alpaca yarn. It's a mixture of, I don't know if you can see, but the main body is made up of a kind of grey and greyish alpaca yarns, and then the stripes aren't in the pattern, but because I only had 600 meters of the grey yarn, and I've actually not knitted the whole length of the poncho. It's actually a little bit longer than this, but I mean this is absolutely fine for me. But I basically had 600 meters of grey alpaca and I wanted it to go as far as it could, so I striped in this kind of pink variegated alpaca as well, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I knitted, so that in the pattern it recommends knitting the body of the poncho in a 5mm needle and the ribbing in a 4. Now, because I was using alpaca, and alpaca can drop and it can grow and it's really lovely and drapey, and I thought that's all lovely qualities for a poncho, so I was happy with that. But I didn't want the ribbing to completely just stretch out kind of as soon as I'd made it, so I knit the neckband ribbing in a 3.5mm, and then I was getting gauge when I held my alpaca yarn along with a lace weight Shetland wool yarn, and that's how I'm getting the kind of marled effect. I don't know if you can actually see it here, but there's a kind of marling effect that I get in the grey part of the poncho, which I like, and that's because I'm holding the two yarns together to get gauge. So yeah, 4mm for the body, 3.5 for the ribbing, and yeah, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. As you can see, it's got quite a big wingspan, and I was struggling to find, had to kind of go into my stash to find needles that would actually accommodate. I think there was like almost 400 stitches towards the end on the needles, so yeah, I just had to kind of make do with what I had and kind of bunch all. I mean, I think I had like a needle that was over 1 meter long, so yeah, but that's probably the most stitches I've had on my needles for a long time, but I enjoyed it. It's a nice easygoing knit, so it's all you're knitting it in the round, so it's all knits. The stripes aren't in the pattern. I just added them in, as I say, just to make sure that the poncho was going to be long enough for me, and I just made up the pattern as I went along, and then just did as many stripes as I could use up the yarn for. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And the name of this it's the Coorie in Poncho by Palko. And Coorie in is one of my favourite Scots phrases, because it means to kind of get all cozied in and cuddled up and all, you know, all kind of wrapped up, which is just the perfect name for this poncho, because as soon as you put it on, you feel like you're just, especially because I've made it out of the alpaca, it's just so lovely and warm and drapey, and it just, you know, just gives you a little bit of an instant cuddle. So I'm very pleased with how this one turned out. So the next finished object that I managed to get, so This one started off, I'll show you at first. This is the oh, that's nice, you can kind of see the definition there. This is the Peapod sock from the John Arbon Annual issue 4 by Donna Essery. And I cast this on as part of the Socktober cal that the John Arbon ladies were running. So I casted this on back in October, 1st of October, and I've only just finished, here's the other sock, I've only just finished these socks because we had quite a long train journey to do down to Birmingham and back. So for one of them I'd got kind of pretty much to the body of the sock. The other one I hadn't done the heel yet, so I managed to get both of them finished. So I'm really pleased with how these turned out. They're called the Peapod socks because there are 3 little bobbles in each segment, so they just look like little pea pods. I thought they were incredibly cute. You can actually make a slightly longer version where there's another repeat of the pea pods, and maybe next time I'll do that. But for this one, I thought 2 would be enough. And it's just a beautiful mixture of greens and burgundies and yellows, and it's so very autumnal, which was perfect when I cast it on the 1st of October, and it's still absolutely fine now. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how they turned out. This was a special colourway that was done by Felt Fusion. So they dyed it on the John Arbon Exmoor sock base, but it was a special colourway called Scrumpy, and that was for the knit along, for the Socktober knit along. So I thought I would treat myself to that because I just thought the colours were so beautiful. So I wasn't gauge again. I wasn't getting the gauge of the pattern. I think mine was slightly bigger, so I ended up making a smaller size so that it wouldn't end up being too big on my foot, and it fits great. I mean, for socks, I've got one foot that's bigger than the other, so I normally just make I don't have identical socks basically. But what's quite good about this pattern is on the left hand, this is the right hand sock. So you've got the peas going down the right hand, and then on the left sock you've got the peas going down the left. So actually it's actually really handy because then you can tell which sock is which. But yeah, I'm really pleased with those. And I've actually got quite a lot of the yarn left. What I normally do is I'll split. Oh, I've got my sock needles. Still got my sock needles stuck in there. What I normally do is I split the ball of yarn into 2, so that I know how much I've got for each sock. But as you can see, there's still quite a lot of that left, so I will. It won't go to waste. I'll make another pair of socks with these, but I'll just stripe them with other sock ends that I've got left. I got a few years ago, I think it was during COVID, I got the advent calendar from Mothy and the Squid, the sock advent. So I've still got quite a few of those to use up. So I've just been adding those in to, to kind of make up enough yarn per sock to make a full pair of socks. So, but I just wanted to show you how it looked in the skein because it's so beautiful. And that pattern is from the John Arbon Annual. This is the 4th issue, and those are the socks there. But if you've not had a look at the annual before, it's worth having a look. There's basically it's kind of like a bit like pom pom in that there are all different articles and patterns, and this is actually a pattern that I want to make next from it. It's called the Walled Garden Vest, and it's a lovely log cabin sleeveless vest top, and I just think that'll be really good for using up lots of odds and ends. So that's definitely on my plans list next. So for works in progress, I have another pair of socks on the needles. I seem to have socks always on my needles because I like making socks. I didn't used to, and I didn't used to see the point in making socks, but now I kind of see it as a bit of self-care. Just making myself a nice pair of socks to keep my feet warm seems to be a nice little bit of a self-care routine. So yeah, so I usually have a pair of socks on the needles at some point, and so these are the ones that I have just now. Now this pair, I'm using 2 different types of yarn. So for the main body of the yarn, I've got the Mothy and the Squid sock yarn. This is one of the Advent colours, so I don't know what the name of it is. And then on the top, I've got this beautiful yarn. Now, this is Mrs. Lamb yarns, and this is in the colourway Mooncake to celebrate the Moon Festival that happens in around October time. And my actual idea about using the two different types of yarn was just so that I would definitely have enough to make a full pair of socks with. Now, as you can see, this is, I had got to the ribbing, and I've got quite a lot of this yarn left, and this is really the yarn that I want to use the most of. So I'm not going to rip back yet, but I'll show you my other. So this is the other sock. So that's, you know, that'll be the right sock, and this will be the left sock. But as you can see, I've only got up to kind of, that's about from the toe to about halfway up the foot. This is a toe up pattern. It's called Warm Feet for Everybody, which is a lovely name. And who's that by? It is by Lizzie Fernandez. So I don't normally do toe up socks. I normally prefer a cuff down sock. But I heard about this pattern through another knitter, and I thought I'd give it a go because it's actually a free pattern on Ravelry, so I'll link it below in the description box. But as you can see, and this is another beautiful colour, this is another Mothy and the Squid sock yarn from the Advent calendar. But what I'm tempted to do, because I actually didn't use up a lot of the Mooncake, I might rip this back kind of more so that it's just past the toe, and then start knitting with the Mrs. Lamb and see how far up, kind of see how long a sock I can do. And then if this one works out better and uses up more of the Mrs. Lamb yarn, then I might just rip this back to, you know, to here and do the same, because this is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just look at those colours. They're so pretty and they're so spring-like. So yeah, ideally I would have more of this than of that. And so I think for this one, I'll rip it back and then start knitting with the stripy yarn, and then just keep going and see how long a sock I can make. So that's my in progress sock there. So pretty. So in February, Amy Sher released a new pattern called the Lounge Room Raglan, and as soon as I saw it, I just thought that would be the perfect jumper for kind of spring, summertime. So I bought the pattern. if you're I'm a newsletter subscriber, so you get a little bit of a discount when the pattern first comes out. So if you like Amy Sher's patterns, I would definitely recommend signing up to the newsletter, because you usually get just a wee discount, you know, when the pattern gets released. Same with a lot of designers, like Andrew Mowry does that, and you know, a few others. But yeah, when it got released, I bought the pattern, and so I've started swatching for that. It's a fingering weight yarn that you need, and because I'll be wearing it kind of spring summertime, I looked in my stash, because I have quite a lot of yarn in my stash, and I want to start using it up. And so I found these two yarns. This is a Kettle Yarn Co fingering weight yarn in the colourway Marigold, and this is an Eden Cottage Yarns Milburn 4-ply in Harvest Gold. So I'd bought both of these for different projects years ago. I mean, I've had these for quite a few years now, and when I pulled them out, I just thought they might work really nicely together if I stripe them. So I've just started doing a swatch, so it's just a tiny swatch just now, but I quite like, there's a slight sheen to the Kettle Yarn Co one, and the other one's a little bit more matte, so that might work quite well together. But I'm going to do, I mean, this is just as far as I've got with my swatch, but I'm going to do a striped swatch and then just see how the two sit together. But I quite like those two together so far. But it's actually, I'm having to knit this on quite small needles. I can't remember what the recommended needle is for the pattern, but I think this is about a 2.75 that I'm using. But I quite like the way that the fabric's working out, so this may be how it ends up. Let's see, but I definitely want to make the lounge raglan, because it just looks like a lovely shape, and a lovely weight for the spring and summer. So let's see how I get on with that. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was the tickets for the Woolly Good Gathering were released in January, and that's a knitting event that happens in Edinburgh, and this will be the 3rd year now that this has happened. So I'm looking forward to that. That happens on the 17th and the 18th of April. So I've got my ticket, and I'm going to go on the Friday, which is the 17th. They do workshops. I haven't signed up for any workshops. I'm just going to go along and have a look at what they've got. They're in a different venue this year. This year they're at Edinburgh Academy, so it's in a different part of Edinburgh. It's kind of a little, it's not further out, but it's a little bit more towards the Stockbridge area. Whereas last year it was in Central Hall, which is kind of the opposite side of town. So it's still fairly central. It's still not that far away from the city centre. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't got many ideas of what to get. I don't actually, as I mentioned, I have quite a big stash of yarn. I go through it quite slowly. So I think I would just be maybe looking for a jumper's quantity of yarn. I'd be happy with that. I think that would be good. The past couple of times I've gone, I've had my eye on the more kind of natural, either naturally dyed or the natural coloured wool. So the wool that's actually the colour of the fleece as it comes off the sheep. And something like a really dark chocolatey brown would be, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But I'll see, because I also have a notion that I'd quite like to get a lilac-y coloured yarn as well. So I don't know. I'll see if what I get swayed by. But yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to get a lot of things. Normally I go with either projects in mind to buy for or specific items that I'm looking for, because when I used to go to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which was a different yarn festival, but also that obviously happened in Edinburgh, I think the first time I went, I had no idea what I was looking for, and there was so much choice and so much to look for that it can be a bit overwhelming. So I tend to go with plans in mind. I tend to go with ideas in mind of what I'm looking for. So yeah, I think if I come back with a jumper's quantity of some yarn, I'll be very happy with that. But what I'm planning to do is try and take some video footage while I'm there, so that I can do a wee video once I've been, and I'll maybe just kind of talk you through what the event was like and what I bought, and then I can kind of show you what happened at the event. So that's the plan. So yeah, looking forward to that. That should be good fun, and it's always nice to have a kind of yarny event back in Edinburgh, because I don't live too far away from Edinburgh. So yeah, it's always nice when there's a local yarn event that I can go to. I enjoy that. So the last thing I wanted to mention was I've kind of had an idea of, like, you know, if I see something, watch something, or read about something, or hear something that's knitting related, then I might kind of talk about it at the end of the episode. And so I don't know how many of you watch UK Drag Race or any of the Drag Race franchises, but UK Drag Race versus the World just recently finished. I think it was probably in March. Was it March sometime? Anyway, doesn't matter. But one of the queens, Kate Butch, I just thought I'd give her a mention, because she actually knitted one of her outfits. And I'll put some footage in, just quick footage to show you, because the idea for the runway was that it was a reveal. So the idea is that you start off with one outfit, and then by the end of the catwalk, it's transformed into a completely different outfit. And as you can see, she started off with a woolly dress and ended up with a woolly bikini. So I just thought it was hilarious, and I loved the that kind of the jeopardy of having your yarn or your woolly jumper caught on something and it unraveling. I love the way she turned that into a surprise. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. If you saw the footage, I thought it was really good, and props to her for actually knitting the whole thing herself as well. So I think that's me. I think I've shared everything that I wanted to share with you today. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.